Salutations readers, welcome to or welcome back to the City Go Writer channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today I'm doing a dedicated reading vlog for Foul Heart Huntsman by Chloe Gong. Now, if you do not know what this book is, then let me just quickly tell you that this is pretty much the sequel to Foul Fortune. Actually, let me actually get all the books right now. Foul Heart Huntsman is the sequel to Foul Fortune, and it is the final book in the Secret Shanghai universe, which consists of These Vine Delights, which is the first book in the These Vine Delights duet, Our Violent Ends, which is the sequel and the finale to the These Vine Delights duet, but the second book in the Secret Shanghai universe, Foul Fortune, which is the start of the spin-off series within the same world as These Vine Delights. I know of Our Violent Ends, but this is the third book in the Secret Shanghai universe. Last Violent Call, which consists of two novellas that takes place in between Foul Fortune and Foul Heart Huntsman, and this is considered as book number 3.5 in the Secret Shanghai universe, so that we can conclude this world in Foul Heart Huntsman as the sequel to Foul Fortune and the fourth and final book in this universe, Secret Shanghai. This book has been my one of the most highly anticipated releases of 2023. It's definitely the highest one for the second half of the year. And I've actually been quite a fan of Chloe Gong ever since I've read These Vine Delights back in 2021. Now, this one is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. So this one does include, I think, an extra short story at the very back here. So I probably will also be, actually not probably, I will be reading it for this vlog. So this will be spoiler free as far as initial reactions for anyone who hasn't read this book, because it did recently come out. This was pre-ordered, so I have gotten it in the mail. Now, after I opened the box, I was definitely excited to read this. However, I've also been hesitant to read this book because I have been a fan of Chloe Gong, like with her, her works, with These Vine Delights all the way up to this point. However, I don't know. I'm worried about how this will stick the landing. I don't know if this is going to be similar to Our Violent Ends, or this is going to go a different route. I don't know if I'll like that or not. I'm not totally sure where I'll stand with Foul Heart Huntsman. And also, this is a chonker of a book. I did realize that it has been nearly 600 pages, which includes the extra short story, which is, I think, over 30 pages. So yeah, that's a lot of story in this thick book. So it's going to take me a while to read this. But I've been wanting to start this reading vlog very soon because I've just been looking at it and I'm just like, this is going to be an experience to read and to document and to have all my final thoughts. So yes, this will be a very much spoiler-free vlog, but there will be a big section. I do think this would be, I would talk a lot of the spoiler-filled stuff for sure. So for anyone, who wants to know just initial thoughts and reactions, you're going to get that in this reading vlog. However, if you're someone who really wants to know, or if you've read this, by the time this video goes up, then at least there will be a section for you to really know specific thoughts on this and to see if it stuck the landing. And as far as the actual thing, I'm not going to talk too much on the synopsis, but this does take place in 1932 in Shanghai, and it pretty much starts off based on whatever happened at the end of Foul Fortune. And I will be heavily annotating this. I've actually been annotating every single one of these books ever since I've read These Vine Delights. So, no stranger there. In fact, I kind of want to annotate it similarly to what I did with Foul Fortune. I mean, look at the books together. Look at that. They're both Barnes & Noble exclusive editions. But as you could tell with Foul Fortune, if you can't see already, is that I have a lot, and I mean a lot of tabs. There is a lot to follow along in Foul Fortune. So equally so, and since this is also longer, I will be using a lot of tabs for Foul Heart Huntsman. Hopefully I won't run out the same color of tabs, but we'll have to wait and see. In fact, I actually have a annotating system. I've already planned out my annotating system even right when I got the book. So there is indeed a key. So here are my tabs. These are the color tabs I'm going to be going with this. And I'm also going to do something a little bit different as well. I mean, I'll still have my regular pen that I use. I'll use a zebra monoline. I'm going to use this color. It's not the purple for this, but I want to use a different purple. But also, I'm going to be using a micron. I think this is a 0.0, I don't know, can y'all see that? It's 0.02. What I want to do with this one. And I'll also want to use a Jelly Roll metallic gel pen. It's the silver color. And I'm going to be using these blue Post-it tabs, because I want to make sure I'm following along with everything and that I don't get super duper confused. I know it's a lot for this book, but again, I've been waiting and anticipating the sequel since last year, that when I read Foul Lady Fortune, so I'm hoping that this will stick the landing. Now, I will be updating y'all periodically. I have put in some colored tabs here as far as when to update y'all. So I think I'll update y'all every 20-ish chapters, which includes an epilogue and a prologue. There's a prologue here, there's an epilogue, and there's also the part where the short stories is, which is called In True Delights. But anyways, yep, I just want to record this intro because I really want to get started on reading this book. And again, I'll update y'all pretty much when I get to whatever the next section there is to read. So yeah, talk to y'all then. Salutations, everyone. This is actually like several hours later from my first update. Actually, I updated y'all past midnight, and then now I'm updating y'all. What time is it? Oh, almost 10 p.m. So yeah, I pretty much read enough to get to this point in Foul Heart Huntsman. So I'm on page 170. So I have read the prologue and the first 19 chapters. And as far as initial thoughts, I'm not really loving this book, at least not right now. And I haven't annotated. Sure, you can barely tell the tabs, but I have annotated at least a little bit. I even have post-it notes on there. But as far as actual tabs, can y'all even see the tabs? I hope y'all can see the tabs. I think y'all can see the tabs in there. There's not really a lot of tabs this early on, which is quite disappointing for me, actually. Mostly just a lot of quick thoughts and stuff, or I use a post-it note. There is stuff that I do like about it, though. I still like our characters. I am also looking forward to seeing how the events of Last Final Call, which is consists of the 2 novellas, and how they will play a part in here. So I'm looking forward to more of that, especially if they do really interact more. But as far as the actual story itself, not so much. I still am looking forward, though, into how they're going to save Orion, and how that he's brainwashed, and he probably had his memory, his memory did get wiped, and how his mother is in control of him, and he's actually still getting experimented on in here. And honestly, when I read Foul Lady Fortune, I wasn't really sure what I thought about Orion at first, but then he just really grew on me, just like Rosalind and Orion, that couple. So I was really sad to see. I was actually really upset at the end on how that he was taken from Rosalind by his mother. So I really am looking forward to actually in here to see how we're going to get him back. Make sure if he can even be brought back, like his memories, like, and the control, like all that stuff. Like how's that going to work out? Now I have gone like 30% into this, but we haven't gone to that part yet. But trying to figure out plans and all that stuff. And again, I'm trying to give y'all the light spoilers here until the spoiler-filled section. And trust me, there will be a spoiler-filled section because I have particular thoughts for sure. But I'm trying to be so vague mostly and spoiler-free because there are certain things, maybe not less so on like the plot, but really more on character pairings that I'm having trouble with. Because Rosalind and Orion, I've been here since like the get-go. Like they grew onto me since Foul Lady Fortune. So I'm here for them, I'm here for the long haul for Rosalind and Orion. However, when I'm thinking of Phoebe and Silas, though, their dynamic, they were not really my favorite, actually. They were actually my least favorite pairing in Foul Lady Fortune. And it doesn't help either, too, because Silas is still trying to figure out the identity of Priest, who was introduced in Foul Lady Fortune, and in the end of Foul Lady Fortune, and especially if you get the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Foul Lady Fortune, there is a short story at the end, which I think Simon Teen put on their website, titling it The Priest and the Shepherd, I think. Talking about that, and is based on pretty much the spoiler at the end of Foul Lady Fortune that, Phoebe is Priest. So it does make their interactions pretty frustrating for me. But even then, I didn't get quite a grasp on their characters in Foul Lady Fortune. And was most because of the fact that I didn't really care for Silas, actually. And I still don't even now. Even with his determination. It's not even really a determination. Is it even obsession? I don't know. He has a particular spark regarding with Priest to find out who
she is, which he actually does know that Priest is a girl. So he's already on the right track there, which does not bode well for Phoebe. But it's just that I don't really care for him. He's not a kind of character, he doesn't feel like he has depth to him, and it's like kind of actually irritating for me, you know. And also for a long time I didn't really know how I felt about Phoebe, because, well, honestly, and finally fortunately we as the reader weren't supposed to know that she is Priest until like the end of the book. So now I'm reading this and now I know she is Priest and what she's trying to do, and she's even getting way more chapters in here, thankfully. So it's kind of hard for me to really root for this couple when I'm trying to get a sense of their dynamic and their chemistry, when there's a lot of secrecy in between all of that I'm just like, sure, y'all had y'all little banter beforehand, you know, early on in this book here, and also in Foul Heart Fortune, but it doesn't really help me out as the reader, at least me as a particular reader anyways. So I am going to assume, and I do think, I'm actually quite certain actually, that Priest's identity will be revealed. I don't know when, but it will be. I'm quite certain of that. And I do want to see how everyone, including like everyone, and I mean everyone, will react, but I specifically want to see how Silas would react, because there was a chapter actually in Silas's POV that actually at least helped me get a better glimpse into him, which helped, but also made things more confusing for me a little bit. But again, not gonna talk about that now. But I will have to say, my feelings with Foul Heart Huntsman is definitely a lot different than I thought it would be after reading like Foul Heart Fortune. Now, granted, I haven't read it's been nearly a year since I've read Foul Heart Fortune. And I do remember there's been a lot of twists and turns and stuff, because there's been a lot of secret identities, secrets here and there. So it was just hard. So I was trying to keep up with all of that. And then also there's the plot of the Japanese Empire trying to invade China, specifically Shanghai and stuff, and I think Manchuria in Foul Heart Fortune. Now here there's a plan for a full-on Japanese invasion, which is an aspect of the story that I don't like. This is somewhat based on history, because again, this is a historical fantasy, so there is some history regarding Japan invading China. So I'm not trying to talk about any of that history, because I'm not knowledgeable about that. However, it doesn't quite help me in the sense with this book. And honestly, it is a problem that actually I have noticed since reading These Vinyl Delights and Evolve Ends, even though I didn't notice it at the time, but as I read more and more books and time has passed between that duology into this spin-off duology, the politics in this world doesn't really quite make much sense to me, especially regarding with like the nationalists versus the communists, because I do remember being quite confused on that whole bit. And I don't know if it's because of the fact my lack of knowledge, or is the fact that Chloe Gong's not fully explaining that properly. Like, I get in the base sense of that, you know, Japanese invasion is not good for China. Sure, cool. But I don't really understand the actual politics regarding that. And I don't know if we're supposed to. I know this is young adult, but still. I don't know. Maybe that's just an expectation in adult historical, like that's more of like an adult book than a young adult book, but I don't know. My point is that I'm having mixed feelings about Foul Heart Huntsman. I'm still like looking forward to what happens in here, but I'm not as excited about it as I was originally. So that's disappointing. So I already know going right now at this point that this is not going to be 5 stars. I could be wrong though. Maybe something in the end could happen and this could be bumped up to a 5 stars. Who knows? But as of where I stand on this is giving me 3.5. So yeah, I'm having more problems this time around than I did with any other of her works. And it's not helping at all that this is literally a sequel and a conclusion to the Foul Heart Fortune duet and the Secret Shanghai books. So I need to figure that out. I'm going to hope and pray that this still stays at least above 3 stars, because right now we are at 3.5. And if it don't get better, I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know that I'll at least have a good time with this, because I'm still with familiar characters and I like them. So we'll see what Chloe Gong does with them when I get to the next section here, which I think I'll update y'all when I reach what chapter am I going to be on next? 40, and that's on page 348. Well, I still have the rest of the night for me, and probably continue on reading anyway. So yeah, I'll update y'all when I reach chapter 40.
Salutations, everyone.
I am whispering, and it's actually really dark out because it is literally nearly 5:45 in the morning. 2 days after the previous clip, so and it's very late, so I don't want to be very loud, so I'm just making sure I am whispering and having my microphone close to me. Also trying to use this orange light as well so y'all can at least see me so that I can update y'all on Foul Heart Huntsman. So I have made it to chapter 40. I haven't read chapter 40, but I've made it there. And this book doesn't really feel like it's getting much better. Now, I have I have put in a little bit more tabs than last time. I think you guys can see it. Oh gosh. I've just been trying to figure out what on earth is going on with this. And I think I realized is that the plot of this is really not helping the story. Now, granted, I have been enjoying like this entire world more so on the characters, but right now the characters aren't really able to carry the story, especially in a conclusion like this, because the writing is not really lending itself for me to really care much about the characters like at all. Like, I don't actually think that this is Chloe Gong's best right now. Like, this is not very good, and it's making me really think about Immortal Longings that I did try to read earlier, like a couple months back. I think it was for the Full Moon Readathon. It's in part 1. I probably will link it or whatever if y'all want to know. But the point is, though, is that I actually DNF'd it, so it doesn't even matter. I DNF'd it around 50-something pages because of the writing and also some other things, but mostly on the writing. And it kind of is reminiscent of it here. Like, the writing in Foul Heart Huntsman reminds me of These Fine Delights, but in not a good way. Like, These Fine Delights, I remember it being like, oh yeah, this is clearly someone's debut novel, you know, that's what it read like. And I'm just like, I don't want to feel that way when this is the most recent book that she's written and published. And I think that's indicative of having 3 works come out in 1 year. Like, she had Last Violent Call come out in February, and I did read that in March, so that's in a wrap up. And then, like I said before, with Immortal Longings, that came out in July. I tried to read that in August. I DNF'd it. And now I'm here with Foul Heart Huntsman that came out in September. Now reading in October. This is what happens. Not every I do think this is a warning sign that, like, you really need to, like, space out your books because, oh gosh, I think we needed some editing because there's a lot in here that I'm just like, we don't need all these pages. This is spread out for no reason. I don't understand why this book is this long. And so far, I am like nearly 2/3 of the way through, and I have yet to figure out why this book is even this long. Now, granted, there are multiple characters that we are following in here, but right now, it is really not making any sense to me why this is this long. I think in my last update, I said I think that the highest this book will get will be a 3.5. This book is lucky if it's going to get a 3 at the end. I still have this last leg here, so things could easily change, but I don't think this is gonna bode well for the book. And honestly, I don't know, it's reminding me of like a bunch of other things, and it's interesting because, you know, this is part of the same world as These Fine Delights, Our Violent Ends, Our Lady Fortune, but it's having aspects of those books that I didn't like in here, and it's just way more apparent that I'm just like, if we just edit things out and change things and rewrote some things here and there, and I don't know, maybe have less so many characters. I don't know, I'm having a feeling that having this many characters is being a detriment to the story here, but I understand that those characters are referenced to the original Shakespearean play As You Like It. And I also wonder too that if I was well read into that play, maybe I can better appreciate Foul Heart Huntsman. Because one thing I do remember about These Fine Delights and Our Violent Ends that I really enjoyed is the fact that it was Romeo and Juliet inspired / retelling. And since I have read Romeo and Juliet for school, I understood like the references, maybe some nuances and changes of the characters. It was so interesting. Sure, it's been years since I read Romeo and Juliet when I read that duology a couple of years ago, but I still appreciated what Chloe Gong was doing, regardless with the characters and the story and stuff. But now that I'm reading a book that's a spin-off of that, and certain narrative choices reminds me exactly of those books. It happened in Foul Lady Fortune. It reminded me of some aspects of like narrative choices from these Final Lights. And now Foul Heart Huntsman is doing the same thing in regards to Our Violent Ends, whether it's betrayals, revelations, plot progressions, like the same thing, except this one's a little bit worse because it's way longer than it needed to be. This is way too long. And then again, there's also a lot more characters we're focusing on. And these Vine Delights, we really had like Roma, Juliet, Benedict, Marshall, Celia, and also to some extent like Rosalind and a couple other characters, but really there were more minor characters. And it was very obvious from the start that Roma and Juliet were the stars. And sure, Benedict, Marshall, and Celia and Rosalind, were there were side characters, but they were still prominent side characters. Like we understood them and we were invested. Me, I'm not quite as invested in this version right now. I was somewhat invested in Foul Lady Fortune at least curious. Now I'm just like, I'm not feeling invested. And despite the fact that in this installment we're talking about Japanese invasion of China, I can care less about that. And I understand that the book is trying to tell me that, this is a thing, it's very important, but it's also just like, yeah, you're telling me this is important, but it's not feeling important to me. I don't feel the stake, which is weird. Because such an event like that happens in Chinese history, you would think that you would feel that kind of urgency. I don't feel that urgency. Am I the only one who feels this way about this book? Like, I just need to know. Like, am I really alone in these thoughts and feelings about Foul Heart Huntsman? Because as of right now, it's feeling like a letdown. Now, granted, maybe I'll feel differently with the actual ending, with the epilogue and everything. But as it stands, this is leading to be a pretty disappointing read. I don't know. And I might not even read the short story at the very end. And there's also a certain aspect with a character too that's leading to a betrayal, which is definitely reminiscent of Our Violent Ends in a way that I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to be that similar or if it's going to be something different. I honestly have no idea on this particular betrayal, and I have to keep reading in order to really know that, which is also why I'm not DNFing this book. This book tops my disappointment right now, especially since this is a sequel and series finale, which is also another reason why I am continuing to read this book, because I actually have not finished a series this year, and I really want to actually finish a series. I've started series, continued on series, caught up to series, DNF series, and I don't want to DNF this series. I've been waiting for a long while to get to this point. I'm not going to stop right now. And also, it has been easy to read, and there are moments on here that I did enjoy. Despite all my complaining, I do like the certain character interactions, mostly on Rosalind and Orion, honestly. Those two for sure. Again, I'm not really into like Oliver and Silly right now. And also, Phoebe and Silas has also been getting on my nerves lately, this time around. Especially with Silas and Phoebe. Like, I don't know, they're not working for me, honestly. And also, I feel like Alyssa's mischief is definitely, I won't say it's not necessarily toned down, but like it's not more prevalent in this book, unfortunately, than I remembered from Foul Lady Fortune, which is very, very disappointing to me personally. So yeah, there's just a lot going on in here, and I feel like it's not really landing, and it doesn't help either that the writing is not landing along with it. So the next time I see you all is when I'm actually done with the book. Salutations, everyone. I'm just here to close out this vlog, honestly, because I finally finished Foul Heart Huntsman. And actually, this is pretty much the same day I've updated y'all from the last updates. It's literally the same day. I finished reading this 550-ish page book in like 2 days. Despite the fact I read this book in like 2 days, it doesn't really mean much because I did not really like this installment. I am not satisfied. Not quite satisfied, but I just didn't like, now I reached the end and stuff. I didn't read the short story in the end because honestly, I just don't care enough to continue reading more from this world anymore. I'm tired. I'm glad that this is the last book because I definitely know I'm not reading anymore. I'm exhausted. I am now fully exhausted with reading this series, and I just, as y'all could tell, I'm feeling all kinds of things. I am upset. I'm disappointed. I am somewhat happy for certain things, but not satisfied for other things. It's just, I really, truly am just disappointed. And I think let's see, on Goodreads, I give it a 2, but it's formally a 2.5. It's just such a middle-of-the-road kind of a book that I'm just like, this middle-of-the-road feeling should not it should not, I shouldn't give it should not be this way for a sequel, for the series finale, for the last book in the duology and in part of this world. Like, I should be feeling more about it. I don't know. I feel like the spoiler-free section now is just being like, you know what, there's not much here. So honestly, I gotta go to the spoiler-filled section. So I'm gonna go on a rant. So, if you've, been reading the books, but you have not read Foul Heart Huntsman, skip on over to whatever the next section of this video is. I don't know. I'm just gonna be talking because I need to get on my thoughts. So yeah, just look at the timestamps in the description, in the video description, and the video itself to know where to skip over, because oh gosh, I have thoughts. Okay, so now we are here with the spoilers. So first up, I think within the first update of this book, I think it was also in the synopsis as well. I didn't really talk about the synopsis of this book because I was just like, well, first of all, y'all know I'm not really good with synopses. If you're new here, I'm not good with talking about synopses of any kind of books, regardless of sequel, standalone, whatever. But in the synopsis in this book here, it does talk about Rosalind doing a national tour, which I thought, even as a disguise to getting Orion back from his mother, I felt like that was just kind of, it was odd. I understand in the sense of like, in this political climate, it would be better for like political propaganda kind of way, but other than that, I'm just like, okay, whatever. At that point as well, Silas, who is shepherd according to the nationalists, and I think with the communists, which I didn't know about his codename regarding the communists until this book, that his codename is magician. So his goal as shepherd is to track down priests for the nationalists. And at the end of Foul Heart Fortune, we found out that Phoebe is priest. So in this book, Silas is trying to figure out whose priest is, who is she, and all of that. And sure enough, especially in the end now, the reveal has happened in a way. He's actually, not even a way, he actually did find out that Phoebe is priest. Actually, a lot of people actually found out that Phoebe is priest. Whether it being like directly or they literally meet and see her as priest. Whichever way. Which only our main focus characters really know. Everyone else, like the general public, they don't know, which is good for her. But I wasn't really satisfied with the reveal in that sense. It did make sense on which characters will have to see Phoebe be priest versus the ones that actually have to figure it out, because I think that makes sense for what it is. I was like, okay, sure. Makes sense. And also it makes sense that Oliver knows who priest is, like he's been known. I think that also makes sense. I mean, the fact that Oliver was Priest's handler, so there's that at least. But I'm like, okay, sure, Celia, Oliver, I'm like, y'all cute. Rose and Orion, they're also really adorable. It's just Phoebe and Silas, their dynamic. It's just, I don't understand those two. I don't get it. And I think it's also because of the fact that I personally don't understand I don't fully understand the political tension in this particular duology. I don't really get it. And I don't think this book this one, even Foul Heart Fortune, I don't even think either one of the books actually fully explained why Japan is invading China. No, I have read the author's notes for Foul Heart Fortune and Foul Heart Huntsman regarding that part of history. I understand, like that's part of history that you want to put that as a focus and things like that, but I think the way it's written in this duology, especially with Foul Heart Huntsman, just doesn't really work. It just it clashes with that. And I think it clashes a lot because of the fact that, I don't know if this is really fair to say, but like, I just think that it's kind of clashing because Foul Heart Huntsman and Foul Heart Fortune, they're an As You Like It reimagining, or at least inspired by As You Like It, which is a romantic comedy. And that one is definitely more lighter tone, like hearted and stuff. But then we have like this political stuff going in the background that I'm aware that as what it is, it's definitely frightening and definitely high on tension. But as far as the book's being written and presented and how I'm absorbing that information, I'm not getting that because of the actual tone and the stakes initially in the book, it's like I'm not feeling the stakes. Like, I felt the stakes in like These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends. I felt that because of the Scarlet Gang versus the White Flowers and the Nationalists versus the Communists. So I felt that. For this, though, it was just clashing. The tones were clashing, and it did not blend well. And it didn't help either that the actual just general plot of this story is way too long for what it needs to be. Like, this book is way too long. As you can tell, I have put in some more tabs, but it's not as many tabs as I was hoping it would be. That's why I made a pretty elaborate annotation system right here. Only for me to be like, I barely had to use memorable quotes. I think I used it like 2 times. I didn't really have much on Alyssa's tabs, like barely. Phoebe and Silas, again, they're the kind of relation dynamic that I don't fully understand anyway, so I just put it in there just so if I could better understand. I mean, to be fair though, Phoebe's character definitely makes more sense to me now than it was Foul Heart Fortune. So I'm grateful for that on Foul Heart Huntsman on that. But it's like one of those 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. Like, yeah, you have a 1 step forward of like, giving more focus on character focus on like Phoebe and stuff, and maybe some other character dynamics that still I pretty much enjoyed from Foul Heart Fortune, but we still have many things steps back because of the plot. And I definitely think that we maybe could have done some editing to get this thing cut down a lot, because what in the world, it should not have been this long. We did not need to do, like, for a while we were trying to get Orion back, and then Oliver got captured, so we had to get him back, and then people were trying to figure out what happened with Phoebe, but then something was going on with Orion, and we had to figure out how to get Oliver in the hospital because he got hurt from having his blood siphoned and all that stuff. And I'm just like, why on earth are we doing all of this? This is just way too extra for what this story is. It should not have been like all of this, okay? And the writing does not lend itself well, so I thought I was gonna have more thoughts and more things to say, but I don't know. It's just, I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse. Like, I'm just repeating myself over and over and over again that I've been doing since the beginning of this vlog. That despite, like, I had such high expectations for this book, and it just let me down. And I could definitely tell that I got a taste of that from reading Immortal Longings that I DNF'd. So Foul Heart Huntsman just also failed. At least this time I was able to read through it, and I was only really able to push through because, again, I wanted to finish a series this year. 1. 2, this is a sequel that I have been waiting since last year. I loved Foul Lady Fortune, so I was looking forward to this book. So, and also, that's number 2. And also number 3, I pre-ordered this thing. I literally just got it in the mail. So I was like, I gotta read it. I literally just got it. I can't just get rid of it. And also, 4th thing, I own every single one of these books in this universe. These Violent Delights, Our Violent Ends, Foul Lady Fortune, Last Final Call, now Foul Heart Huntsman. Like, I had to get this one physically and own it so that I can, like, make note of it. I've annotated every single one of those things. So there was just no way I was going to just read this book and then not have my own copy. So that's why I pushed through. And now I've pushed through and I'm just like, all of this only for this to happen. Okay, and as far as the actual ending, it's As You Like You reimagining, or at least inspired by it, at least. So, things got a happy ever, well, I won't say happy ever after. I mean, according to the authors, no, it was more like a happy for now, because apparently, and as far as the actual time period from this book, and not just in the book, but actually in history inspired, the part of history that inspired this book is that after the events of the Japanese invasion of China, then it ends up leading to the Sino-Japanese Wars. So there's that. I was like, oh, great. So yeah, this is definitely more of a happy for now. But hey, a lot of the characters, they've been through a lot, so it's nice for them to have some more happier moments, But other than that, I'm just like, this is just like this. I just didn't like how we ended up here, honestly. And also, there's a weird thing I feel like with there's a certain part in the end, because Orion was needed a blood transfusion, and Rosalind is like, oh yeah, just use my blood, because she figures by her own sense of logic that they have the same blood type, because it's literally verbatim, because Lawrence, which he's a character from These Violent Delights, and he's trying to help help them out. And he's just like, wait, how the heck do you know that you and Orion have the same blood type? And she says, because I'm the same type as Celia, and Celia says she is the same as Oliver, so I'm willing to hedge a statistical bet that he and Oliver are the same as well. And I'm just like, I don't think that's how the medical math is supposed to be medical mathing right now. Because I'm just like, the chances of that actually being true, I don't think that would be accurate. I mean, it's already weird enough as it is that it ended up working out. So I'm just like, wait, so all four of y'all have the same blood type. First of all, very convenient. I was like, oh, that's pretty convenient. Which I'm like, you know me, I'm not really a big fan of magical conveniences. I'm like, no. That was you just wrote that to be real convenient because you knew you were gonna write yourself into a corner, so you want to write something like that. I'm just like, the way that you made that logic, I'm just like, see, no. I was actually tempted to even bump it down like a quarter of a star because of that, but I was like, you know what? No, let's just. It's already low as it is. The Pope taking a quarter star off of 2.5 is, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. They're still getting a regular 2-star anyway, so. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think that's it for all my spoiler-filled thoughts, honestly. So, all in all, do I really recommend this series or any of these books? Honestly, I mean, as far as These Blinding Lights and Our Violent Ends are concerned, read them if you wanna. I don't really know. I haven't read those books since 2021. It's actually been nearly 2 years since to the date that I've read that duology. So I don't think I would particularly love that duology if I were to reread it now. So I'm just gonna leave the books as they were in the past. And as far as Foul Fortune and Foul Heart Huntsman is concerned, I think you'll be fine. I think you'd be fine if you didn't really bother continuing on after Our Violent Ends to Foul Fortune. I mean, if you didn't particularly like These Blinding Lights, would you be able to just jump in? I mean, of course, you'll be spoiling yourself for the events of These Blinding Lights and Our Violent Ends. You just straight to Foul Fortune. But I will say that if that's the case, then I don't really think it's worth picking up the duology itself. I don't really think so. Because if I were to really average the ratings, it would be like around a 3-star duology, and I'm just like, okay. So, enjoyed and liked my time, but I don't know. I guess I could recommend if y'all would want. I don't know if recommend for maybe the character interactions, honestly. Just be here for the characters, because the plot is just not going to carry. And to be fair, and honestly, as much as I did enjoy These Blinding Lights and Our Violent Ends 2 years ago, I do remember that the plots were... we definitely needed some work on plotting there, and especially the writing. But I gave grace at the time because it was a debut series, so I was like, well, maybe. And that's also why I am having troubles with even recommending like Foul Fortune and Foul Heart Huntsman, especially if you've read These Blinding Lights, because it's still within the same world, still same author, same writing style. There's not really much improvement, so I'm just like, if you didn't like These Blinding Lights, you're just not gonna get much difference from Foul Fortune, because you're getting practically the same thing, basically. And especially if you've read the original duology, I truly believe that certain narrative choices were also used in that original duology. And I know it's a spin-off, this particular duology is a spin-off series, but it doesn't help me. That I'm just like, if I were to just recommend it, like, would you go with the original duology or a spin-off duology? I'm just like, it doesn't really matter, because you're practically reading the same thing. It's just that one is inspired by romantic tragedy and the other is inspired by romantic comedy. So take that what you will. And I prefer a romantic tragedy than a romantic comedy, personally speaking, at least from Shakespeare. I just prefer the tragedies. So yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts really on Foul Heart Huntsman. Oh gosh, when on earth will I have another dedicated reading vlog where I end up loving a book? When will that ever happen at this point? I don't even know. Oh gosh. But anyways, thank you all for coming on to this video. If you've, stuck around with the video here, even though you've never maybe read any of these books, then, thank you for watching, honestly. And for anyone who is actually a fan of this series, comment down below your thoughts on These Blinding Lights, Our Violent Ends, Foul Fortune. If you've read Foul Heart Huntsman, please talk to me in the comments. Am I alone in my feelings? It's okay if I am. Look, I will be fine if I am alone in these feelings. I just want to know, for anyone else who comes across this reading vlog, what are your thoughts on Foul Heart Huntsman? Were you satisfied? Were you elated? Or were you disappointed? Did you hate it? I don't know. Give me all the things. Are you in the middle? Please let me know down in the comments. So yeah, like the video, like it, comment on your thoughts. Or if you want to leave me an emoji, leave me, actually there are several emojis I have for y'all. Y'all can choose between an anatomical heart emoji, kind of like inspired by the cover here, or a purple heart, or a pink heart with the blue arrow through it. One of those three hearts, whichever one. Thank you all again for coming on to this video. If you want to check down the video description for links to my social media. So thank you all again for coming to this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.